still alive, I'm still alive, still alive, I'm still alive.
Hey guys, PLV here. So since we started, we made some tropical house and some chill lo-fi type of beat. So it is now time to move on to another genre. Drum rolls please. But actually I'm dumb, you saw it on the title. Future bass, and more precisely, emotional future bass. As some of you know, I started making music by taking a masterclass in January with Kaigo, so pretty much all my first songs were very tropical house. But the last song that I released is an emotional future bass track called Still Alive. It's available on all the platforms to stream. I wanted to explore a different music genre to continue learning some techniques and experiment and discover what I like to make. So in this video, I will show you how I made the song. Let's go! Alright, so let's dive into the FL Studio project. So usually I organize my tracks in 6 categories. I have my vocals, the instruments, the bass and sub, my drums, the effects and impacts in this case, and some ambience loops. Then the first thing I did is I started with the vocals and I then made the music depending on the vocals. So as you can see, the vocals, I just chopped them off and like mix and match together to get the arrangement that I wanted. Before starting on the track, I had analyzed quite a few reference tracks. I decided to go with this arrangement, which is a little intro and a first breakdown and a hook, and keeping the drop, like the final drop for the end, and going straight to the second breakdown, second hook, with a nice build up and drop at the end, and then a final hook. And I also had lots of like second takes and harmonies that I also added. I was lucky enough to have them. Then I added those little like dreamy vocal chops that I found in a sample pack. I thought they were really helping putting the vocals into this dreamy future bass style. I also chopped the I'm Still Alive part quite a few times to have it in other parts of the song.
I'm still alive.
And I left out a little detail, which is when she takes the breath to sing, I left it there.
I'm still alive.
And at the end of the song, I also added a exhale, like the song is over, you can breathe, you're still alive. Then the other thing I wanted to show you in the vocals are the little vocal chops that I made during the build-up. It's a technique that I found recently and I think it really is really cool, so I'm going to show you how I did these. So I put those vocals in the build-up. I wanted the build-up to be like epic and like feeling kind of underwater. So to treat those vocals, I added this 3D parametric like preset called Radio. It gives this effect, and then I just put it in like in a lot of reverb, and I just reduced the volume quite a lot, but that's pretty much what I did. And I also just chopped the vocals depending on which part I wanted, and yeah, that's what it was. And I think that's it for the vocals, really. I really started the song depending on what the vocals were telling me, what it was making me feel like. Every time I took a decision about the music, it was to help telling the story of the vocals, and it's something that I really enjoyed doing compared to my other one. So the first thing I did was coming out with those piano chords. To lay down the piano chords, I often get the questions like how I do them. I don't have like a specific recipe. I just like I know the key that the song is in and I just like jam on the piano or on the piano roll until I get something that I think sounds good. I also knew a few tricks to make those nice emotional chords because that is something very important into emotional future bass, like using the major 7th, 9th or 11th. So I didn't use triads, I used chords with at least 5 notes in it. I also used inversions where, you know, you start with your first like triad and then you just invert some notes. And then I just like duplicate some notes and like try to spread them onto multiple octaves, just to give that more full and emotional feeling to the chords. Then for the rhythm of the chords is the same. I just do what the vocals inspired me. at this time for the hook, I wanted to accelerate a bit the rhythm, so that's why I started to add like quicker notes and like more passing notes in between. Another thing that I did to help make the piano feel a bit more human and realistic is use the strum to make them like offset the notes so that it's not completely electronic, you know, like putting the notes at the same time. So after doing this, of course, it was feeling quite empty. So one thing I like to do often is just add like one note in the background and then just switch it up at the end of the sentence. So I added this note. After this as well, it was still quite feeling empty, so I added some bells. And after this, I also wanted to introduce some more instruments, and I chose some strings. I also added this guitar strum that I found on Splice. And I think for the breakdown, that's all I had. I just started to introduce a bass at the second part of the breakdown. I also added a pad that I add only in the hooks. To also help make the strings feel a bit more realistic, I added some volume automation where it's not constant, it just arrives little bit by little bit. And then the last thing I added is a little arpeggio in the piano that only comes for the second part of the song. It's this one. I really like to always add something different to make it like not boring for the listener, so that's why I only keep it for the second part. Both bass are Reese bass because I think it's one that is very used in feature bass, and I think at some point on the hooks and on the drop I have another sub as well. So for the intro, I wanted the same arpeggio as the piano, but the piano was quite weak as a sound in the intro, so I decided to switch it up for a guitar that sounded like this. And so the guitar sound comes from, I think, Labs again. Yeah, it comes from Labs, it's the Peel guitar, but the sound like just bass from Labs was quite weak if I remove all the effects. That's what I started with. The first thing I did is I separate again my guitars to put them on the side. And then how I treated my guitar is I put a EQ, basic EQ to remove the low frequencies, and then the thing that makes the difference is the guitar rig amplifier and the Camel Crusher. If I added. And then I just added just a little reverb and pancake as well to play a little bit on the side so that it's a bit less boring. And that's how I made the guitar for the intro. And then the last thing I did is switching up the sound for the chords in the drop and the build-up, because I wanted something more powerful and more energetic. So I chose super saws that are super famous and common in future bass. So this is like a few are some presets from Vital or Serum, and I also made two from scratch on my own. And they sounds like this. I also added other superstars that are a bit more plucky and the rhythm is more like quick. And there's also some white noise to help. And everything is linked to the sidechain, which I do it by hand. And then the last thing is the lead, which follows the same chords as well, and I just use like the pitch bend to make it a bit more interesting in some parts. and I think it's a preset from Vital. All my other instruments in the drop are also sidechained to the same rhythm, and just the instruments in the drop, it sounds like this. And that's it for the instruments really, so now let's do the drums. Alright, so for the drums, the first thing I did is the kick, because I really had it in my head, like I wanted a kick that sounded like a heartbeat, because when you think about being still alive, to know that you're still alive, it's the heartbeat. So I really wanted the kick to remind you of a heartbeat. So for this, I took this kick, and then I duplicated it, and I reversed it to get this one. And that's my kick pretty much the whole song. The only time I changed it is during the intro and the outro, because like I wanted something more realistic than like this like fake kick heartbeat. So for this I just chose like real samples from Splice of a Heartbeat. Then I added this snare. And I layered it with 2 metal sounds. And I also did that reverse snare. And I also did a clap. Then I found some loops on Splice of percussions. As they are quite heavy, I only use them at like the more energetic and more full parts of the song, so in the hook. And then I think that was it for the drums, like in the breakdown and hooks. And then in the drop I added some more drums, like this, like rides. And I mixed and matched like a lot of fills. And I played with the panning as well to go like from left to right. That's really what I wanted, like in the drop, you know, when you have like those pauses with the sidechain, or I wanted like the drums to come up in the mix. One thing that I added a lot are those impacts. And combined with another kick during the build-up, which is more stumpy, it really gives it this cinematic epic feel that I wanted to achieve in the build-up. I also layered it with some metal percussion. And also the reverse impacts. Then I add this little snare build, very light. And then the actual snare build starts, kick as well. And in between the pause, I added some tom fills, which are like this. And I think that's it for the drums. So I also added a lot of effects. The impacts I already showed you, they were a big part of the song. But then it's nothing crazy, just some like white noise and uplifters, downlifters, just some sweeps here and there. I added some that were a bit more like futuristic, like science fiction like this. Added white noise. And that's pretty much all I did for those effects. And then another thing I did is adding some ambient loops in the background, pretty much the whole like song. It sounds like this. I added one more that is more vocal. And then some rain and thunder. And I have this going on pretty much the whole song. And at the beginning as well, at the intro, I added some more texture because it was quite empty with just the guitar melody. So I just added a little bit of bigger thunder. I also played with the panning to go like from the left to right in your ear, just to add some more space and some more texture. And I think that's it. So I got quite a few feedback on the arrangement, telling me that it was like really well done, that I was bringing, you know, the energy and like the whole song very well until the drop. So I just want to show you a few tricks of like how I made the arrangement What I really liked to have in this song is to have some really like changes in the dynamics. So having some pauses and not all the time like epic and going on is a good idea. So for example, at the end of the first verse, before going into the first hook or chorus, I just pretty much cut everything and I just leave like the ambience and just a heartbeat before sending everything in the hook.
But I'm still alive.
So it really gets like the suspense going, and like then it's like the the tension and release. So this is a good trick. At the end of the first hook, before going into the second verse, I also do the same.
I'm still alive.
Stop.
The trouble with
Chords.
trouble is it doesn't seem
And
to
drums.
ever end.
And then piano. So it's really like I really love to play with the arrangement and like taking some stuff out and like making some little pauses and then bringing back a few things or everything. Just really like starting to build the song as you go. And then at the end of the second hook, I pretty much do the same, just to build the tension before the build-up arrives, where it's like very like stumpy and impacts and getting ready. I just leave those four notes, and the heartbeats.
I'm still alive. I'm still alive.
And I slowly starts to build the energy by bringing more and more instruments and more drums. And then I'm gonna take everything off before the big release of the drum.
I'm still alive.
And yeah, that's pretty much what I really like to do in this song for the arrangement, is really like to putting everything, then holding it a little bit, then putting back in, but like just a little bit, and then everything arrives. Like, I don't know, that's what I did. Yeah, just really like switching things up so that it's not boring. Alright, so that is it for this track. It was a real challenge because, as I said it before, it was really more like challenging and technical than the previous style that I've done before, but I'm really happy of the result. Let me know what you think in the comments. I hope that you found it interesting to see my creative process for Still Alive. Hopefully you maybe even learned something. I also hope you enjoy the song as much as I did while making it. If you do, share it with your friends, stream it, do whatever, enjoy it. And also let me know which genre I should try for my next song. I mean, my next song is like already done, but maybe for another one, just if you have any suggestions of music genre that I should look into, please let me know. In the meantime, keep learning and I'll see you in 2 weeks.